Today we're going to get back into the comment section for my quiet quitting video that I dropped almost a year ago. Now this video was really controversial at the time, had a lot of people agreeing and disagreeing with the arguments that I laid out, but nonetheless there's going to be a lot of crazy wild comments to get into today. So without further ado, let's get into it. This guy says, I'm a millennial. I've realized that switching jobs every couple of years really does pay off in a crazy good way. Since 2013, I've worked for 6 healthcare organizations and my income has increased literally 300%. Look, this is one of those things that companies hate it when people switch jobs every few years. And I don't necessarily think it's a great thing for society because I think it almost serves to kind of destabilize us, right? A lot of people are more willing to move if there's higher paying opportunities every couple of years elsewhere, right? But I have to look at employers and go, yo, you guys are the ones incentivizing this, right? Like the fact of the matter is the free market is incentivizing people treating their jobs transactionally and job hopping. Is maybe you guys should start paying up better to keep good talent, right? The fact of the matter is that this is backed up by data. I showed a chart in the quiet quitting video. It's actually true. People who switch jobs every couple of years make significantly more over a lifetime than those who stay at companies for long stretches. I think truth be told, if you're a young person, this is something that you've almost just got to accept is, hey, you might need to job hop a few times in your youth to really get your earning potential up. Pulsating Sausage Boy 2076 says, there's no reason to go overboard for these companies. They won't do the same for you, I can guarantee you that. And they'll always want more without any recognition or reward. Now, I don't 100% agree with this, but I also don't really disagree with it. There's a lot of companies out there that will just take advantage of you and that don't want to actually promote you or reward you for going above and beyond. Instead, they want to keep you in that position for as long as they can without paying you extra, because that's how they make their spread. That's how they make their profit, right? Is taking advantage of people who go overboard. But I know there's also a lot of great companies out there that will reward you for going above and beyond like this. I think you've really got to take an opportunity to view your landscape at whatever job you're at. Okay, what kind of employer am I working for? What kind of boss do I have? What kind of department am I in? Let me just take a moment to look at the company culture. Do people actually move up? Do they actually get opportunities and raises in this department? Or do they tend to be empty promises from a boss who will just say anything to keep people? And I've worked for bosses like this, right? Like bosses will tell you anything, right? Just to keep you going overboard and not actually reward you. But there are a few good ones out there. So you got to really just kind of be cognizant of where do I work and be honest about that culture, you know? And this guy underneath him says exactly, job switching is becoming the new norm since companies can care less about you. So why should employees care about being loyal to a company? And that kind of goes back to what we talked about with job switching and people getting paid more to switch jobs. Is like, look, some of these companies are just not as loyal as maybe they might have been in the past. These companies really got to step up and do better things to retain good talent, because I think a lot of companies have become so transactional that people are seeing it. They're just being transactional back, which is not really good for anybody. This is why incentives do wonders. You get extra work done, then you get extra pay. The worker gets more money, and so does the company, and everybody wins. I actually couldn't agree with this more. This is a point that I kind of thought to myself after the quiet quitting videos. Why do more people not adopt incentive structure business models? And I know that that's not going to work for every business out there, but I definitely think there's a lot of businesses that could benefit from a more incentive structure model, you know, where the worker gets benefited or the worker gets taken care of when they take care of the company in a bigger way than normal. People are going to go above and beyond more if you actually incentivize them to do so, right? And it's weird to me because a lot of these companies have a zero-sum idea of their sort of labor or their employee, right? Which is like, we need to maximize the amount that we get out of them without putting in any more. There's only so much labor we can get. We need to squeeze the orange as much as we can. But then when it comes to things like products, they don't have this zero-sum idea. They have more of a kind of plentiful strategy of like, look, we can get unlimited money. We just need to figure out how to make our product different, how to make our service, how to make our brand different. But then when it comes to their actual helpers, right, the actual people that they employ, it's like, yo, they want to just squeeze that orange for the maximum amount possible without thinking about providing extra value to the help. It's weird how different I think a lot of employers look at their employees versus their customers. Is like, they're equally smart people, right? A lot of employers know that if they screw the customer, the customer is going to quit coming back, but then they screw their employee and wonder, why do I have such high turnover? We're all people, dude. Hit the nail on the head. I haven't heard anyone else outline the exact reason why this is happening 100%, but you did. Most people need to hear this because it fully and concisely defines quiet quitting to a T without missing one aspect. Where other partial takes fail to fully outline, you did it. Bravo. I really appreciate this kind of comment, man. It feels good when you put in a lot of work to get that kind of feedback. You know, the quiet quitting video, I spent 3 weeks really developing the ideas, scripting it, writing it, filming it, editing it. It was a process, right? And one thing that was really cool to see with this video is it had a reception unlike anything else that I've ever posted. I had a lot of people saying, yo, I'm sending this to my group chat with my coworkers. They all love it. They agree with it too. I appreciate you guys, you know, really rocking with this video. It feels good to make that kind of art that makes people feel represented. And, you know, I'm not really trying to be anything or say anything for anybody. I'm really just trying to, I don't know. As I've gotten older, I've stepped away from the left-right paradigm, and I've just started trying to look at things like, you know, like God loves people. I love God. We got to love our neighbors. How can I really fight for people? And I know that's such a basic idea, but there's a lot of people that get stepped on in this world, and we're all equal. So how can I fight for people more aggressively? I just felt like this is one of the things that needed to be said. It's, you know, like the working class, we're really taking it. You know, we've been taking it for years. And so, I don't know. I just wanted to speak up with something I was seeing firsthand, you know? Employees just aren't rewarded for staying at companies anymore. If you look at the data, people who switch jobs every couple of years end up making way more money than people who stay with companies for 7 years or longer. There's literally a monetary incentive to hop between companies, hop between jobs, because you'll make more money. If you stay with a company, they're not going to pay you more to match that. This guy says, this is so true. My daughter just got a managerial position and promotion at a company that she's worked for the past 5 years, and found out that even with a pay raise, she's making less than the person who is managing that got hired 2 years ago. I saw this at my last job, right? People were getting paid $11 an hour, $13 an hour, and then we see these postings online, these hiring ads for our company where they're offering $18 an hour to people that in the same position are getting paid $11, $13, $15 an hour. It's one of those things where it's like, dude, why are you screwing the people that are the most loyal to you? And it's because these companies really don't have a loyal bone in their body. They're not looking out for their people like they say or like they want us to believe. They're just trying to, you know, extract the most amount of labor for the, you know, the least amount of pay that they can. And so they think, oh, if he's loyal, she's loyal, we can take advantage of him for how many ever more years for low pay, right? But the people that are job hopping, they know they're worth more so. These companies really do kind of dish out the money. And it's sad because this is a truth. Again, this is backed by data. These companies are not loyal to you when it comes to pay. Literally had a guy quit a job just so the supervisor could hire him back for a raise. I've actually heard of that happening in a few different jobs in the last couple of years. These employers don't realize, man, the economy is not just something that is forever straight and doesn't change, right? I talked about it in my last quiet quitting video, but the fact of the matter is right now there are more job openings than there are free individuals to fill those job offerings, right? What does that mean for employers? That means you guys need to treat people good, because if they leave, you are screwed. You're either not going to get the position filled or you're going to have to offer more money to get the position filled, okay? So I have to look at all the bad employers out there and go, why would you treat people like crap? You're only going to hurt yourself, and you're just going to make people like this laugh at you when they come back to the same job and get paid more. Because I've heard about this happening at multiple jobs, even in my area. And I'm in Utah, which is a booming economy, right? Where there's a lot of young people to work. What are you guys doing? This lady says, my husband is ex-military and his fellow ex-soldiers were sick of grinding for jobs that don't do anything for them. I'm a pediatrician, and I saw how angered my husband was working for what he called undeserving management. So after 2 years, my husband and his fellow soldiers, male and female, joined together and formed a private security company that hired many veterans and ex-military. The contracts are high value protection for companies, individuals. My husband and the other men and women made it worthwhile for new recruits. They recognize military trained skills. My husband always told me, I'm not an executive, I'm a soldier who knows how other soldiers feel. That's real. They are very successful in this business, and our community likes how they make the effort to hear concerns and protect people. I'm gonna cut that off right there, because the point that I think this makes, right, is a lot of the angry comments in my last video, people saying quiet quitting is a terrible thing, it's for weak people, it's for entitled kids, it's for brats that don't know how to work, don't have a work ethic, it's for weak youth. It's a lot of angry old people, right? And what this is showing us is even guys that are ex-military are in the same boat, right? They feel abused by their employers. And I mean, ex-military, you talk about people that know how to be abused for years at a time, put up with abuse, put up with hard living conditions and not a lot of money. If they're saying the same thing, look, companies are not taking care of us, then hey, why don't the old people kind of stop for a second and say, oh, maybe these kids are onto something. Maybe the working climate today is a little bit different than when I grew up, and these companies really are not providing wages that allow kids to have a future, right? Can we all kind of come together and say, hey, if the ex-military guys are saying the same thing, then maybe there's some truth to it. This guy says, I am 33, working 9 years at the same company, doing overtime and weekends unpaid, and just burnt out because my boss promised me a higher position. They never hired me and I left. I'm glad that I dropped this video and had people like this in my comment section sharing stories like this, I think I figured it out at a little bit of a younger age. I'm 26. One of the last jobs I quit, they promised a difference of pay that was never followed through with, right? So they promised up here, paying me down here, just trying to carrot on the stick, string me along, just like it sounds like with this guy. And I didn't fall for it, right? After a little bit, I kind of wised up. I was like, oh, you're paying me less. You also promised me these certain job, kind of this job description, but now you're having me do all of this kind of unskilled labor over here. As soon as I've got a free minute, you're having me do all sorts of work that's outside of my area of expertise, when I actually have other things I can do over here that probably help the company more. You're giving me crap work. You're paying me less than you said you would. And I can't blame this guy for being out too. It's just sad. Why would you lose good labor making, bad promises? The worst thing that you can do is promise the world and then not follow through. It's like, why did you even say anything in the first place? Man, I love this one. This guy says, I'm in my mid 40s and the younger generation has learned from our mistakes. Never give your all for something you don't own or control. I love this. Can I just say thank you to, those in the older generation who are honest with the kids and say, hey, you guys are gonna have to figure out a different path than us. You've learned from our mistakes. Instead of just doubling down on these kind of like tropes or these ideas like hard work will get you where you need to go in life. Yes, you should work hard, but if hard work was all you needed, then I promise you, the farmers to our south down in Mexico, I promise you they work harder day to day than 90% of Americans do. They're out in the fields doing hard labor in the sun. If hard work was all it required, if hard work is all you needed, then these people would be the wealthiest in the world. But why is America on top, right? Because it's about leverage, and you gotta be smart here. This guy says never give your all for something you don't own or control, right? The fact of the matter is, if you don't own or control your company, then you gotta think about what's your point of leverage. Okay, it's the amount of time that I put in and the amount of effort that I put in, right? Okay, why would you give that up with things like unpaid overtime? You're literally devaluing your service. It's the same as a company going, okay, well, we make iPhones, we're Apple, but we're gonna give our Macintosh computers away for free. You're gonna work 40 paid hours a week and then work unpaid overtime for an extra 20 a week. Why would you devalue yourself like that? We need to think more creatively about, okay, how do we take advantage of our leverage? How do we get into these positions of ownership and control, right? And not get strung along, because I've had bosses do that, right? Like, oh, we'll give you equity. When? At some point. No, we'll give you ownership. We'll give you a share. We could give you a percentage of sales. When? Some point down the road, right? Don't get sucked into that, right? You got to think about what is your leverage right now and how do you use that to feed your family? Because the fact of the matter is these corporations, they don't really care. If they did, they wouldn't be so transactional with us like they've been for the last 40, 50, 60 years. So thank you to you. Thank you to the older generation who's honest with the kids. I think the fact of the matter is Gen Z, man, we got to find our own path. We've got to figure something out. And I think entrepreneurship and ownership, I think this guy kind of hit the nail on the head, is going to be one of the biggest factors in doing that.